Hi, I'm Peter Cowan, the Bee Whisperer. It is the 1st of September today, and the first day that really starting to feel like the beginning of fall. About in the 50s last night, just getting into the 60s now. The clear blue sky and the rain finished yesterday, so much lower humidity finally. So we're now starting to get into a run of autumnal weather. And if we're lucky, maybe it'll spring the things like the asters when they come into bloom into nectar production. We're getting a tiny bit from the goldenrod. Right now, I'm not hopeful of seeing a fall honey flow of significance, which means I'll probably need to feed a lot of my hives in the very near future. But first, I've got to get my fall mite treatment in. It's time to go in with Formic Pro. And I get through a lot of Formic Pro here. And just a reminder, Formic Pro comes in aluminum foil sachets like this. And each sachet is enough for one complete hive, whether it's large or small. Inside the Formic Pro sachet is 2 pads, each pad wrapped in paper. You keep that paper on because it's one of the ways it dissipates the rate at which the fumes come out. I should put my gloves back on because I shouldn't be holding it with bare hands for this formic acid. You also want to be careful not to breathe in the fumes of Formic Pro. That's tough stuff. And have a bag with you to put your rubbish in. Okay, so let's get ready and put this inside some hives. We'll start with this one. Formic Pro is great because you can use it with the honey supers on the hive. It doesn't affect the honey, but you must have the entrance wide open. If you have a screened bottom board, you want to have the tray in to stop the fumes going through the screen. If you've got a solid bottom board, you're fine. You've got to have 6 frames of bees in the hive to use it. And there's 2 ways of applying Formic Pro. The best way is using both pads at the same time. This does a thorough job of killing the mites on the bees and also penetrating the brood to kill the mites in the capped brood. It's one of the only treatments I know that will actually penetrate the capped brood and take care of mites relatively quickly, that you can use with honey supers on the hive. My view is its only disadvantage is that you can't use it at temperatures above 85 degrees. So this summer I had to use Hop Guard during the summer because it was above 85 degrees just about every day. In my past experience, I've not found Hop Guard to be nearly as effective as Formic Pro, but it'll certainly knock the mites back a bit. So in my mind, this mite treatment right now is the most important one because it's going to be the one that's going to really knock the mites down for the fall. And we're in the midst of the time when they're building their winter bees. They've been building winter bees for about a month, and they'll continue to lay for about another month. And this way, all the mites here, all the brood here on in will be even more free of mites, because the mites build back up as colonies rob out of the hives, as the few that are left behind from previous treatments start to multiply. But particularly this time of year, robbing and drifting of bees from one hive to another will really radically increase the number of mites coming into the hive at the same time that the population of the colony is going down, therefore making the percentage of mites in the hive grow quite quickly. So we're going to get this mite treatment in. So I'll just lay those down. There are a few bees in the hive. I don't really need to open things up. I want to have a quick look to see how things are getting on. So this yard is having a bit of traffic. There's a bit of bee activity here. more so than some of my other yards. And from the look of things, there may be some honey being accumulated in some of these frames, which would be a nice change to get it up in the honey supers. Yes, there's some honey here. That's nice. This super was empty last week. We might be getting a flow. The super's going out. It's a fair amount of honey in this super. Nice. Now with Formic Pro, you want to get the treatment in directly onto the brood chamber. If you're using a single brood chamber, this wants to be right on the brood itself. If you're using a double brood chamber, you put it between the two brood chambers. So I've already been in here, I've taken out the hop guard treatment. Now the Formic Pro is going to go on. You want to lay it so that it covers all the frames. Excuse me. It wants to go down every seam of the hive because the fumes drop down. They're heavier than air. They're going to drop down. The bees will retreat from this as quickly as they can, and they'll want to go elsewhere in the hive. So you want to leave those honey supers on the hive because the bees need somewhere to retreat to get away from the fumes. Otherwise, you're going to find that they're going to beard up all over the front of the hive. That's okay if they beard up on the front of the hive. That's not critical. Remember, 80 to 85% of the mites are actually in the brood. It's the brood we're really treating. Enough of the bees are going to be inside the hive that they are going to be exposed to the fumes anyway. I've got my queen excluders on the bottom of the super. It's about 15 pounds of honey there. Maybe 5 to 10 pounds of honey there. Nice. I'm pleased about that. There's a chance that we may harvest some honey. The other thing is that we want to make sure that we're not going to be able to feed our hives during the time that we have our Formic Pro on. At least we can't feed with a bucket feeder or an entrance feeder or something like that, because it interferes with the normal activity of the bees, apparently. So what you can open feed if your circumstances allow that. But if you've got honey supers on, of course, you're not going to be open feeding. And if you've got a lot of neighbors who have honey supers on, you don't want to be open feeding. But otherwise, you can open feed if your bees are in desperate need of food. So now I'm going to get on and work my way through these hives and put my Formic Pro treatment on as quickly as I can. Okay, so these colonies can't be fed while Formic Pro is on. It says feed in the feeders, that's going to come off. And I'll go and place that over here. The single brood chamber colony. These are occupying 8 out of the 10 frames, and there's honey on the outer edges. This is coming along nicely. The feed is off for now. Let's see. feeders will start again after the mite treatment is completed. If they need it. They're coming along very nicely. Now these colonies with single brood chambers, these honey supers will come off as soon as I have taken the done with the mite treatments. The reason being I'm leaving them on right now is because I want the bees to have more room in the hive itself to escape the fumes. And so it's best to leave the honey supers on until the mite treatment's done. So around about the 10th of September, these honey supers come off, and then I'm starting to feed the heck out of the brood chamber. Now you can put the fumes, these boards, straight on top of the queen excluder or underneath. I'm choosing to do it underneath. Four down, 5 down. nicely, the brood chamber. No point in disturbing it more than I need to, so I'll just tip it back. Formic Pro, the bees are now going to ventilate and fan the Formic Pro out of the hive. And the amazing thing is, all this green stuff right in front of the entrance of the hive, when I come back in 2 days, that'll all be burnt away. All that grass within about a foot of the entrance is going to be killed by the acid fumes being blown out of the hive. Formic Pro is a strong treatment, and they say it will kill the equivalent of about 1 day's brood rearing by the queen. So 1,000, 1,500 bees will die in the process of this. Usually these are the older, weaker bees anyway. Sometimes a little bit of brood is killed off as well. The queen certainly stops laying for 2 or 3 days, but after that you see an amazing bounce back by the brood chamber. If the colony has any strength to it, it's going to bounce back really nicely. If it's gone past the point at which it can be saved, the Formic Pro might finish it off. But it's not because of the treatment, it's because the colony was too weak in the first place. So you won't lose out by using this Formic Pro treatment. Very important to get these mite numbers down, otherwise you can almost guarantee you will lose your hive. I might be coming back here with a honey super on some of my bigger hives. I think I've got a little honey pool in Winterport. Yeah, this is one that I probably wish I had my smoker going for. Bees are coming out, but they're not being mean. Still wouldn't plan to do it without a bee suit on, but they're not bouncing off the veil. Not like my Italians. That was a fun day. Bit of weight. I can see honey in the corners of these brood chambers. So bees are getting some honey in the brood chamber as well as in the honey supers. All good signs. These colonies, although there wasn't much of a honeycomb over the summer. Things are looking pretty healthy now. They'll bounce back after the hot guard treatment. They'll be bouncing back even better after the formic pro treatment. The bigger one. Find a useful tip to put the cover in front of your feet, because the first thing the bees attack is your black boots. So if you put this there, it gives you a few more seconds. Always best to open up your packet first so you're ready to go, rather than leaving the hive open while you're doing it. Down to make a better seal. So there we go. This yard is now treated. I've culled out one colony with the combined it with another which was in not terrific shape. I'll be looking through those to see if that needs to be consolidated with a hive with a better prospect of survival. Anyway, on to another yard. Try and get these mite treatments done as quick as I can. I reckon Formic Pro is the best go-to treatment that we can use right now. Before the bees stop flying in the fall, we'll be looking at things like oxalic acid, but that's another 6 weeks away. I'm Peter Cowan, the Bee Whisperer. See you next time.